So I'm really excited about having a special guest tonight. Tera Lynch, author of The Orange Post-it, is joining me, and I listened to the book. I do audio so that I can do exciting things like dust while I'm listening, um, and then I listened to parts of it again. So like it's to me that was that relevant. So I would invite you. I will put a link in the chat for that on Amazon. But Tara had reached out. She references Dr. Rob in the book and as part of her journey, and that was compelling. So one thing led to another, and I've asked Tara to join tonight. So she's here. She's going to tell a little bit about her journey. She's going to answer questions. If you're reading this or watching this, I will tell you that if you're new to this journey, this could be this could be like, how could you possibly get there? Or, thinking we're all insane for, laughing at crazy things. But please take care of yourself, guard your heart. And, if you've been on this journey for a while, take what you need, leave the rest, maybe come back to that. But I'm going to put a link for the book as well. So without further ado, for those joining live, we have got a Q&A, so they will be asking questions and I will read those for Tara. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tara. I would like you, I've created some questions after, but I just thought it'd be great for you to share, kind of pieces of your journey, how you got to writing the book, whatever is relevant that you think would be useful for people on this journey to know.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Tera Lynch McAndrews, and I wrote a little book. It's a 98-page book about the heartbreak and the lessons I learned from being betrayed by a beloved husband, a husband that I adored, laughed with, cooked with, enjoyed the same sports, just totally in love, hand-holding, car opening door kind of a husband who traveled Monday through Friday to New York City. And I found out by accident that he was cheating on me, and I found out about it on an orange post-it note. He was acting a little estranged, so I kind of went and looked on his desk, and it was right on top of the desk. So this was right under my nose, and I didn't know it. And he had serial affairs. He was addicted to pornography. He was a big user of Ashley Madison, Craigslist. I was in shock, absolutely in shock, horrified, and in shock for such a long time. And I confronted him immediately. I'm not a person who sits on anything. And I really realized from the get-go that he was only going to tell me as much as I knew. And that was a very early wake-up call. But we really tried to make it work. I immersed myself in a lot of recovery work. I was with Carol Jurgensen Sheets. He and I did the workbook together. He was really into it in the beginning, but I could see him kind of losing interest in it. I had coaches, I had therapists, I went on retreats, I listened to podcasts, I immersed myself in it. And in the beginning, he kind of did. But then I could see it was a little bit token. It would be all out in front of me when he knew I was there, but then it was all swept away. He thought he could do it his way. He did not want to do the 12 steps. He did not want to get a sponsor. Um, and that was really, really frustrating for me. But he kept saying, I've got this mantra thing. And he was being very loving, acting very empathetic, acting like I was number one. And I think he really delved in for a little bit, but then it just became very clear to me that he was stuck in denial. He was lying to me. He was lying to his community. But most of important of all, he was lying to himself. And that's probably the scariest thing of all when you're lying to yourself, because nobody's going to get through to you if you can't get through to yourself. So I just very slowly started writing little short stories about an epiphany I had or a boundary I was struggling with, or how am I gonna be a role model for my daughter? I can't tolerate abuse and then teach her not to not tolerate abuse. All kinds of lessons I learned along the way. Being a graceful, gracious, not forgiving, but empathetic person in this journey took a toll on me because he took advantage of it. And what was always, an attribute. Oh, sorry. I have
It's
little
okay.
earbuds and they fall out. I usually have headphones on, but I would look like a DJ.
It's all good.
So I just, no intention of writing a book at all. But I started to piece it together. And my very first chapter was called Love, Lies, and Gluten-Free Pies. And it's probably maybe one of my first moments where I laughed because I was probably 3 years into trying to make the marriage work. And all of a sudden, Hulu dropped the Ashley Madison affair. And I thought, how come every time something crazy bad in my life happens, it's trendy? Like all of a sudden, there's so much support out there. And that's what happened to me when I found out I was allergic to gluten. And when I lost my firstborn son, Colin, baby angels were the rage. And all of a sudden, it was okay to mourn about losing a child in public. It hadn't been in the past. It was kind of a taboo subject, something you don't talk about. And all these things that I was like, I can watch the Ashley Madison affair on Hulu and eat popcorn and be in a support group all at the same time. So that was like the very first chapter, and that's kind of how I found humor in realizing, what are you doing? You've done everything you can. You've given him so much empathy, so much support, so much compassion, and he's not sober, and he's lying to himself. And how much more do you have to stumble upon? I mean, I found a burner phone. I found an iPad. Like, what are you doing? And I just had to laugh at myself that I didn't have this self-respect or a vision for the future without him. And I'm worth it. And my daughter's worth it. And I need to be a role model for her. And so I just put all these things together and I showed all my little chapters to some treasured people in my life. I showed it to Carol Jerkinson Sheets, who was somebody who really helped me along the way. And she said, "Oh, girl, go." And I showed it to Jen Cole, God bless her, who just passed away. She was my coach, and she was amazing. She was with me, helping me write the impact letter that he never responded to. She was, I went on a retreat with her. I did a 12-month online support group with Jen and met 8 fabulous women. And we just learned so much from each other and taught each other so much that we went on vacation. We rented an Airbnb and I went to Canada. They were all in Canada. And we just had an amazing time telling our stories, but also supporting each other and strolling through lavender fields. It was like an indie movie, and they will forever be, very close people. And it's just so important to have a very, very, very strong community and lots of different circles of friends who are going to help you through it because you are going to exhaust your inner circle. It is just too much. It's too painful for people to hear. And the other aspect I write about in the book, which is something I think a lot of people go through, is I kept it a secret for a long time. And there are pros and cons to that approach. For me, it was just too much. It's just like that scene in the movie where it's like you can't handle the truth. I couldn't tell people. They just wouldn't believe it. I mean, he was just this wonderful, personable, happy, adventurous, sweet, supporting guy. Nobody would have believed it. I was having trouble believing it. So it's just so important to have lots of different fellowship, lots of different people in your life. So I kept it a secret. It it was a good thing because I was able to figure out do things on my terms. Had I have three sisters, I have three kids that love me. Had they found out from the beginning, they'd be like, "You're out of there." They wouldn't have given me a chance to work on it. They would have been so disgusted. And I got this chance to work on my marriage. And I did everything I could. I threw the kitchen sink at saving this marriage. And by the time I let people in, it was time to let people in. So many people were worried about me. They thought I had cancer. They're like, "Who are you? Where are you? You used to laugh. You used to be funny. You used to be present. What is going on?" So by the time I let people in, it was the right time, but it had taken a huge toll on my health. My I'm lucky I have a wonderful primary care physician, and she's like, "I'm going to see you every week. If you lose one
Oh, wow.
pound, if you if your blood pressure goes up any higher, if your heart rate doesn't settle down, um, there's going to be some interventions." So I was very blessed to have her. And it was just time. And I kept telling him, the day I become ambivalent is the day that you should be worried, because he did not like having to be accountable. He put himself on all kinds of surveillance apps, but then he resented that. He didn't like having to come home at a certain time. And it had to be that way, but I couldn't live that way anymore. I don't want to police my husband. I don't want to know where he is all the time. I don't want to know what he looked at on the internet. I don't want to have to pick up his phone and see who messages are from. It became exhausting. I'd come home from work and sweep the house and make sure any magazine that came that had provocative pictures, clothing magazines, was out of the house. And all that work and exhaustion just was something I just couldn't do anymore. So when I did tell him that I needed to have a divorce, because my sisters were noticing him oogling other women, and they had a intervention with me, I was like, oh my God, everybody's noticing now. It's become that much of a problem that it's just my sisters have noticed, and that was it. It just had to be over. So I had to teach him to let me go, if that isn't crazy. But we lived in, we therapeutically separated twice. We had two disclosures. We had an impact letter that he never responded to. And I eventually let him back in the house. And that's something I talk about a lot in the book. And I want women to think about this. There's no one way to do this. There's no one way to divorce. There's no one way to have boundaries. You know what's going to work for you as an individual and what's going to work for you as a couple. And we did some very creative things where I could feel safe and we could navigate the end of us as a couple. And I'm very proud of that work. Um, he was renting a very expensive apartment in the city. And I said, you know what? I'm a school nurse. I'm off for the summer. You can come back in, which he was so grateful because he missed our house. And I said, I'm going to be gone all summer. And all that money you would have poured into a landlord's pocket, I'm going to go visit my adult children in the states they live in. I'm going to go visit my girlfriends. I'm going to fly to Alaska and spread a relative's ashes. And we made it work. And then when I came back, we lived under the same roof, but with boundaries that he respected, didn't want, but respected. And I eventually had to move out sooner than he would divorce me because I was giving him too much false hope. We were just kind of playing house. Like if I was making dinner for myself, of course I was going to give him the other plate. And just that that little bit of home life was so special to him. And he realized that he had taken it all for granted. But I just knew I needed to leave. I needed to not see him in victim mode. That's a really hard thing to see somebody with their victim face on all the time and the sad puppy dog eyes. And I'm just like, this isn't working anymore. Your actions did not show up. Your words mean nothing. You've had so many slips. You never would have told me unless I found out. Uh, and just the lying to himself was just too much, was too much. So I did move out and I left him because he couldn't get sober. And I don't think a lot of my friends or family would have supported me in staying as long as I did, but I did it for me. And I feel very, very, very strong that I did all the right things and I did everything I could to save the marriage. And it's a tragedy. And I'm going to tell people who are betraying somebody they love out there, that man calls me every single day begging to get back together. And I had to block him because, and I didn't want to do that. But it's over. I mean, he needs to get the help he needs. And I'm 59 years old. I don't want to be 70 years old finding out that I should have left when I was 59. And that's what I feared. And the writing was on the wall. It is on the wall for it. I mean, I did the right thing. So it's hard. I loved being married. I mean, there's nothing better than being married to somebody you enjoy and you're each other's touch points and you have a built-in buddy to go anywhere or just somebody who knows where you are all the time and cares and knows dilemmas you're going through and worries you have. But it was false. I was living a facade and life's too short to live a facade. It just is. The book,
So I've got a couple of questions for you before you go on. So, and you were just saying it's a facade because I was like, yeah, he knew where you were, he knew what you were doing, and he was really good. Like you said, opens the car doors and like all of these things, you know, but he had a whole secret life, double life that you didn't know about. So it, definitely was a facade. When you're talking about your sister's doing an intervention, and then you're like, well, this is, what's really been happening, so you had a pass. I don't remember the medical stuff. Like, I don't know if you shared that in the book, but, like, wow, that, and I hear often for partners that are, like the medical, autoimmune and like all kinds of really negative, consequences, for physical, beyond the emotional. So, it's so challenging because you're dealing with like everything on this, expanded, scale, with that. So, I was so grateful you had friends though. Like you had so many people and you talk about, these, like the tribe from college, like you have all of these people, your dad, like you have people that were, able to support and show up for you probably even before they knew what was going on, because they were caring. I honor that you were like, I had to tell people when I was ready to do so. And you're right. Lots of people will either take sides, sometimes blaming the partner that, it's, well, what were you doing wrong or what were you not doing or whatever. Or like you said, he looks like such a good guy and he's doing all of this stuff. So, until your sister started noticing, the ogling and the completely inappropriate creeper stuff, that is, then they were able to call that out. I was I when you were I wrote down the huge red flags, and when sharing with partners, I talk about what he would not do. Well, he wouldn't go to a 12-step meeting, like here his behaviors have cause this massive divide. And, and he's still going, well, I'm not going to go to 12 step, and, I'm only going to dabble in seeing a therapist, and I'm not going to, respond to the impact letter. Like all of these things I'm not going to do, rather than I'm all in, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's a huge marker for partners, to pay attention to. What are their actions, not their, and the really massive red flag is, I've got this. Don't
Mm,
worry, I've got this, or the I'm trying. Like that's another one of those that I'm trying, look how hard I'm trying. Like none of those, you do or you don't do. And and unfortunately his actions showed, that he was not willing and still isn't willing. Even when you talk about, he kept slipping, I'm like, you can't slip if you're not in recovery, so it just to me sounds more like, he's in some cycle of addiction, whatever that is. But sadly, really sadly, you will be fine. Like yeah, I hear the empowerment in in the words you were writing, that you are choosing you. I'm 59 years old. I know I did the right thing for me. The not second guessing. You did everything you needed to do. And then, and sadly, he didn't do everything he needed to do, you know, and the regret, of like, I'm going to call you every day, take me back, I mean, it's very sad, but he was ultimately the chooser of those behaviors that would keep him, distance, from here. So I assume, like, how are your kids doing with all of this, and I don't need details, but like, how did they come through all of this with because you said adult children living outside the state. So, so you were traveling to them. How did they handle, the separation?
so I have my three children. He has his two children.
Oh,
It
that's
was
right. You said
our,
that too. I
yeah,
forgot
it was
about
our
that. Was
second.
it? Yeah.
That's
So
but that's
yeah,
okay. We became
yeah,
the Brady Bunch. I
yeah,
mean, our
yeah.
kids really liked each other. They knew each other from like third or fourth grade on. Um, but my kids wanted to protect me, and it was very painful for them. I mean, they were just so worried about me and so upset with him. And it did kind of cause a divide in the family because his kids, I'm sure, don't even know a tenth of the real truth, and uh and my boys, I'm glad they're in a different state. That's all I can say.
Probably for the best.
And my daughter lives near me, and I just really needed to show her how to be a strong woman and do it kindly and gracefully, but to get the job done and to make a decision and to stand by it and to not tolerate abuse. And she really appreciates that. And I think she has so much respect for me. And she's cheering me on from the sidelines. And she sees me as a mom with Avenger jeans on. And it's great. I feel like it set her back from dating, maybe, because, you know, she thought I was in this loving, happy relationship. And so that was devastating for her. But came out on top, and I'm happy, and I am making new friends all the time. I'm so glad I'm not shy. I moved into a building, and I've got friends of all ages, females, that are kind of going through what I'm going through or have experienced it before, and we're just making new memories and kind of influencing each other with somebody will recommend a comedy night and somebody will recommend live music night, and we're hanging out and watching sport games together and stuff. So it's been really nice. But I did some
Well,
unconventional things along the way. He was not hearing me, he was not seeing me, so I built that shrine of shame.
I was going to ask you about that, because like that just it took me 3 days to build the shrine of shame. So you have to share that. So yeah.
Oh, it's a very healing thing. I did not mean to do it, but triggers were everywhere. So all his most of his escapades that I know about were in New York City, and he would fly United Airlines out there and stay in hotels. And so I just started throwing everything from the airline, from the Tapas food boxes to the napkins to the glasses to mini model airplanes on the desk. And then even the little vodka bottles or whatever. And then I saw Accountant of the Year framed art piece he had on his desk, and I taped cheater and put it over accountant. And then he traveled to China. He had some escapades in China, so he had brought back these beautiful Asian fans, and I opened them all up and spread them out all over the desk. And our favorite summer liquor drink was sweet tea vodka, which we had found in Charleston on a vacation together, and I put a bottle of that on the desk. And everything that was triggering me, notepads, matchbooks, everything from New York. I got a huge angel, a Christmas angel, and put it in the middle of the desk and hung his jockstrap on it.
Oh,
It got to be more and more fun every day. It was just an accident, but when he saw it, he was more flattered than anything, which should have been a really big red flag to me. Um, and I had built this shrine of shame over 3 days, and then he was coming home from a business trip. I was leaving. We were still together, living under the same roof with boundaries. And I went to go to a spa weekend with my girlfriend in Wisconsin. And I had a panic attack in the lobby. It was my first time going into a hotel after I'd found out all this cheating that had occurred. And I have never had a panic attack in my life, but I started sweating in the air conditioning. I couldn't check in. I saw all these advertisements of couples at a bar having a drink, like staring into each other's eyes, and all I could envision was him with another woman and not me. My girlfriend tucked us in. I mean, she sat me down, she got me cold water, she wiped my brow, and those were kind of some of the events where I'm like, I can't live like this. I cannot live like this. There's so many triggers. They're just everywhere. It took me a long time to be able to check into a hotel again after that. It just affects colors, sounds, smells, the ping on the computer. Oh, I hate that sound. Um, they're just everywhere and you got to face them. And the color orange was a huge trigger for me because I found the proof of all of his infidelities on an orange post-it note on his desk. And orange was a huge trigger for me. And now I have art with orange everywhere in my new apartment. I have art with Vouv champagne bottles and I have art with orange peppers and Atlas jars. I just think facing triggers at the right time can be really, really helpful because triggers are just a big deal. I did a lot of EMDR on triggers. I had a therapist who made me put every trigger and envision it a name on a file. And then she would have me visualize putting that file in the very back, the hardest place to reach it in a file cabinet. And it sounds silly, but boy, did it work. So, all these little exercises really help you heal. You just have to be patient with it. I can't tell you how much I believe in meditation, EMDR, journaling, getting good sleep, eating good food, exercise. Uh, it's so important to keep yourself balanced and not get lost in all the grief. It will always be hard. It will always be sad. It will always be a monumental, huge disappointment. But I'm learning to not take it so personally anymore, which is a hard thing to do. We all go through that when we're trying to make it work. We try to make ourselves prettier, softer, smell better, and just not willing to do that anymore.
And I'm grateful for that because it was never about you. It was never a deficit with you or that you were, and I hear that you're aware of that now that it's, that it's him. And I appreciate that you've had, good mental health help. Carol, the coach, I know her well, and, like you've had good help, you also chose it. I also hear like I'm making friends in my new building, and like you had this tribe of people that you were in group with, and you went off, to an Airbnb. You chose to not isolate. You chose to connect with other people and, not be alone in the grief, and that is how we move through this instead of, getting, the stuck is horrible, like the stuck when you're unable to move out of that, like there's lifelines. And so I appreciate that you were grabbing. I'm grateful you had a doctor. Like lots of people don't take care of themselves and go to the doctor, so that you had a doctor that was on your case going like, you're going to come and see me every week. And you did, like, those self-care things, often go out the window. So I appreciate you reminding us of like, this is really important to take care of, all aspects of the body that we're in order to be able to move through this. So we've got some questions, and I want to get to those a minute, and then if we've got more time, we'll keep chatting. But okay, so the first question, you can follow along in the Q&A. Betrayer here, working hard in recovery and no slips in over 4 years. Though I admit to my relationship frustration coming out poorly at times, in addiction, our relationship has been very out of balance, and I know that the pendulum needs to swing in the other direction for some period. Does the betrayer at some point have any right to expect any positivity or affection from the betrayed? I feel very selfish asking this, but I'm giving it all, my all, and I would love some motivation to keep trying.
Oh gosh, I hear you. Um, I it's hard to celebrate their good deeds in recovery. And I don't think they should expect that of us. I think it's a very fair expectation. You can do things like do Fanos together and have a little bit more time opening up with each other, maybe getting a little closer with intimacy, but they should never expect us to be their cheerleader. They gave that up.
And I'm a person in recovery, and that's what my recovery rooms are for, because they'll give me a chip, they'll celebrate, yay. But the people that I hurt, they can be grateful that I'm not doing those things anymore. But that doesn't. I was never supposed to do those things. So so it would. I'm with Tara. If at some point, down the road, and it says no slips in 4 years, but I also hear my relationship frustration coming out poorly at times. And I would love to know and invite you to share more about what you're doing to work on those things and different communication. If you are looking for each other to be your support, that's not helpful for either of you. You heard Tara talk about like she had a whole tribe of friends and people and support and therapists and things like that to support her on the journey. Unfortunately, her husband chose not to, have that support, and ultimately, that was to his demise, in the relationship, but yeah, if at some point your betrayed partner is able to come to a place of that or even have empathy for you, fantastic. But that's, the barking up the wrong tree to me is, like, understand the pain. Like we have no idea unless we're really paying attention. And if we're thinking about, well, you should be, giving me applause, we're gonna miss that my behaviors have caused you pain. I regret how badly my behaviors have caused so much pain for you. I can only imagine. I'm working today to do things differently, and that's all I can promise you is today I'm going to do what I need to do. And that's enough. And then you go to your 12-step meeting and you get the chips and you can say, it's struggle. It's a struggle. Yeah. but the more you are, is coming out poorly at times. That Troy Love talks about the trust jar, pretty regularly on his webinars. And it's like every time there's something that builds trust, there's a marble that goes in the trust jar. Every time you act poorly, guess what? Marbles are coming out of the trust jar. So that will keep, the relationship, in kind of that turmoil place. But and you're a ways in. I usually say 2 to 5 years and things, but it also depends on what you guys are each doing and both doing, to move the relationship forward. So, but unfortunately, the lion's share is on you, betrayer, to do the emotional growing up. I mean, we're really immature, when we get to the doors of 12 step and recovery. So it's our job to work on emotionally growing up. So take that as encouragement, do the work, things will get better. You can do it. I know lots of people that, have been able to shift. I will tell you and I'll pull the link for it, but the Out of the Doghouse for Men Who've Been Caught Cheating work group could be really useful for you because that's about rebuilding trust. You may also, in January, I think the inner child and attachment wounds, are coming up. Those could be useful for you. Those are the deeper work. It's like not just about stopping the tomorrow. Sex Addiction 101 starts. So anybody who's struggling with getting that traction, and that would be a good one. But those deeper ones could be really useful for helping you process through and share feelings with other people, that are going through the process as well. So I'll pull that, put it in the chat. For those of you watching, it's on the Seeking Integrity website. So, okay. The next one, thank you for sharing your story. Your healing journey is inspiring. I'm nearly the end of giving it a chance after 4.5 years, many discoveries over 20 years. I don't have any more to give and want peace and healing, which I'm on a very healthy journey for me and my two boys who are 10 and 8. Him having his story of being a victim and an amazing recovery, denial and delusion, never worked 12 steps either because he has his own way, has kept me stuck for the most part, and I cannot let him have this. Part two is, but other times it really bothers me. How do you manage the resentment of their being the victim story and the attention and support they get for it? I logically know that this is not recovery, and this is enough evidence of my decision to move forward. It's sad.
Oh, my heart goes out to you. Um, yeah, watching them be the victim is really hard to stomach. Uh, and I had no tolerance for it. Um, I was an enabler for a long time, like you are. I read a whole chapter about grace misplaced, and I listened and I empathized, and he had a really rough childhood. So I took that into account and I cut him way too much slack for that because that's not a reason for acting out. It helps you kind of understand their wounds, but how they choose to soothe those wounds and cope with those wounds is not on us. So I was an enabler for a long time. I stayed in it for 3 years, keeping it a secret to myself, a secret for a long time. So I understand, where you're at with all that. But for me, I could see that his cycle, his acting out cycle, started with the victim. I would see like strength, happiness, togetherness, and then once he would slip into the victim thing, like as an employee or just victimized by something. I remember one time he stayed at a hotel for a business meeting and he was really upset with all the people at the hotel, like the administration for not making people mask and not plugging in exercise equipment and not having clean towels or whatever. And he spent like inordinate amount of time like complaining to the company and trying to get a response. And I'm like, why are you doing recovery? Why are you wasting all your time acting like a victim because you weren't treated well at a hotel? I mean, that is pathetic. But then I saw the cycle. The more I paid attention to it, that's how it started. So that was my sign. He's acting out again. So I had to stop enabling and trade in my halo for a pair of boxing gloves. Because Just playing the saint in a winner's game gets you nowhere, right, Billy?
That's true. I knew which were when I listened to that. I was like, yeah, there's a Billy Joel song there. So yeah. And you said it earlier too. It's hard. It's hard to see them, and yes, there are reasons, and no addict, whatever form it is, grows up in a emotionally secure household with everything. We don't. And it's a reason, not an excuse. And when we are willing to do the work, we can change, but and never work the 12 steps, like that's such a huge red flag. And I'm a huge proponent of the 12 steps because it's free, easily accessible. We get so much out of it. They're like, that's where, I learned to grow up. So he's choosing not to. So I honor that you're going to this, this is not working for me. Everybody has to make their own decision and timing. You talked about when you get ambivalent. Dr. Rob talks about all the time, when when there's ambivalence or indifference, like that's, like if somebody's still in it, even if they're really angry, they're still in it. As soon as it's ambivalence, indifference, the relationship is probably, on the side of termination. So, um, but this is not you, this is him, and I'm sorry that he's not choosing to step up.
I'm sorry
How
too.
how long were you with your husband after D-Day, betrayed partner here with addict partner, 3 years after D-Day for us?
Three, I was with him 5 years. So 3 years past D-Day, I knew it was over. I was done trying. He wasn't trying. My sisters had the intervention. I didn't like who I'd become. I'm not, I don't want to be Nancy Drew every day. Uh, so I woke up and just started taking action. And then it took 2 years to get the divorce. And I moved out before the divorce. And I wasn't even sure what was going to happen with me financially, but I knew for my emotional well-being that I needed to exit. And I was ready. I was prepared for it. I had no regrets. I skipped out the door. I didn't sadly walk out the door. I skipped out the door because the time had come. But it put a lot of work in to making that happen.
Can
Yep.
you talk about the financial? Because, like, I know lots of partners feel stuck for financial or what other, there's lots of other reasons, and, so you said, I wasn't sure about the finances. So what gave you the courage to take the leap and, well, to skip out the door, even when you were not sure, about that?
We had been talking about a settlement. Um, and he had proposed, we had worked a long time on it without attorneys, and it was painstakingly slow situation. So I knew what he promised, and I kind of relied on that. And I knew I mean, I work, I'm a school nurse. I had some money in savings, and I thought, well, hopefully he's going to abide by what he said he's going to abide by. We didn't run up a lot of attorney fees. I'm not a materialistic person, so I thought this will work. And it wound up working in my favor because since I took so much time working on an amicable end with him, he appreciated it, even though he wasn't sober. I was still his person, really the only person, I mean,
Mm.
that he has in his life. So he appreciated the 2 years I spent separating amicably. It's a bizarre story, but it's the truth. And it wound up working out in the end, and he did fulfill his promise. I'm not a wealthy person by any means. We dated 10 years and then we were married 9. So I didn't have that 10-year mark we're always going to have a 50-50 allocation. But I needed to go. I wasn't going to wait till year 10. I couldn't stomach it anymore. So it wound up working out.
I'm going to do a research project, I think, because I hear often of the long, like we were together, 10 years and then married, like those long periods of time. I'm hearing more and more of that. I don't have any, like, this is just me wondering. So, but like if there's something with addicts that they're dragging their feet to, I don't know. Just curious. So if
Well,
you want to
part
be
of
part
it
of my
was
review.
I had just gotten divorced when I met him, and my kids were not ready for me.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank you for
I
clarifying that.
did it for my kids. And
You,
then
so
I went
you were
back to
the one that
school.
was more hesitant.
Yeah, we just decided that the perfect time would be when all our kids went off to college.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, well then never skip the research project, but I've been
No.
hearing that more. So, so okay. I hear a lot of betrayed spouses talk about monitoring software and tracking devices. My husband willingly put those on his phone at my request. I rarely look at them, but I find it hard to understand betrayed partners when they say they don't want to monitor their husbands because they don't want to control. I put monitoring software on my phone at the same time my husband agreed to put it on his. I do not care if it's on my phone. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide. Do you believe there is a healthy balance between unhealthy monitoring and willingness to completely be transparent and open?
I 100% believe in any kind of monitoring. It is safety seeking behavior. I learned so much that I never would have learned had I not done it. I know some people kind of find it disgusting, but it was my sanity saver. Um, he said it was a deterrent for him on occasion when he had weak moments. I learned of slips that way. I learned of places that he shouldn't have been, and then endured gaslighting that the app must have been wrong. Um, there wasn't a ton of that. There weren't a ton of slips, but I totally believe in it. And I'm sorry, that's something you give up. If 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 you've betrayed your spouse to the degree that this man betrayed me, um, if you want to stay in the marriage, then it just has to be.
And I'll caveat that, like, there's always, for somebody who really wants to act out, they still will. That's the challenge with all of this. Like, it's a deterrent. It isn't, it isn't going to make them not do it. It can be a deterrent. Oh, that's going to be on a report. That's going to be, that's the hope that it just slows everything down so that there's an opportunity to think it through before I do, but it isn't like, now you're going to know everything. And there can be faulty software things, but you can call the company and they will let you know about that. So, but okay, so then here's another one. How do you forgive and trust again? I'm struggling with this.
I think forgive is a misused word. Um, Acceptance. How can I accept what this person did to me and what they've done to fix it and how they proceed to go forward? Forgiveness is, I couldn't do it. Because it comes to mind forgive and forget. Accepting, like accepting the new normal, accepting the new us. That's okay. Forgiveness is okay if that's what you want to do. I couldn't do it. Even if we were in a healthy place and we were still together and he did all the right things in recovery, I don't think forgiveness is something I could have in my vocabulary. I think I could accept it. And there was a time that I thought we could be stronger than we were before he did it. I went into recovery and work with him with that mindset, but it just didn't work out for us. And I wish it would have, but it didn't.
And I say this often, it's like the addict partners really miss out because you will, you are doing well. You have a circle of friends, and he's, phoning you constantly, like it's really sad that he chose those behaviors over, real relationship with you. So,
And I call it
um,
waves. So there was the first wave, and then I found out, and then there was the second wave, and then there was like a third wave when I found a burner phone when he was professing his love and sorrow. So it's like, oh my God, this is a tsunami now.
and 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 he's not paying attention to the weather reports. Like it, he's yeah, he's missing it. So okay. So was he able to step up during the divorce or did he shut down? Since he's in such a place of victim, I'm concerned he will shut down and not be very functional.
No, I think he has narcissistic tendencies, and so he will always take care of himself in that respect. I don't think he's a full-blown narcissist. I think that's overused. But I mean, I was worried about him being suicidal.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I really was on several different times. But it just turned out to be, I think I'm a legend in my own mind. That man was not suicidal. He was just very good at being a victim. I know he's unhappy. I know he's not fulfilled in life anymore, but he's not going to take his life. I'm not worried about him.
And at the end of the day, like he's not your responsibility. So, like, if the worst happened, if he chose that, he had other options as well. And it's sad, but that can happen. But, um, and then, how old were your kids when you separated from your husband? And you said it was his kids and your kids. So, and they were all, um, uh,
They're all
out of school.
18 when we got married. And, right after I found out, right after D-Day, they were all about a year out of college. And they
Mm.
came home for my sister Carrie's wedding and got stuck at our house during COVID for 4 months, right after I found out.
Oh,
So
wow.
couldn't tell the kids because they didn't need that. I had to stay in the same room with him because all the kids had our extra bedrooms. We all worked from home. It was horrible 4 months. Um, I would not wish that on anybody. And I write a chapter about that because the kids were kind of living their best lives and they all liked each other and they were all working at the dining room table with their headphones on and doing their business calls and having a blast, laughing. And I'm upstairs crying, hiding everything. Um, so the kids were, I think my kids were definitely more affected because they worried about me. I mean, their dad, he's a high wage earner, so he's going to be fine. They were just more worried about me having to really scale back and they knew how much I loved him. And my kids were very sad for me about that. But it's great conversations and we talk openly and I think everybody's learning a lesson from this.
Yeah. And, you mentioned your daughter, but I was like, she will be very discerning as she, like she'll have her spidey sense, alert. So, okay, 2 years from D-Day tomorrow. Oh, we're thinking of you. My husband was told he was not a sex and porn addict when he could stop the behavior from day to day. He stopped SLAA because he did not feel it was helpful. You hear the snarkiness in my voice. I'm sorry. I hate that stuff when I hear, oh, it wasn't helpful. He had a sponsor that was not good, so he stopped the 12 step. Is it possible without that? He has also a lot of trauma, bad depression, been playing victim for a year, but going to webinars and groups on seeking integrity that has really made a difference. I don't know what to expect or demand. I'm gonna help you on this one. And it doesn't start again till January, but the boundaries work group starts again in January. Please, please, I put the link in the chat. Please, please sign up for that. Or the Betrayed Partners starts in January as well. But healthy boundaries for you. This is like I mentioned earlier. It didn't help. It doesn't. What it does help. Your relationship is in crisis, and he's choosing not to do that. So healthy boundaries for you. So Tara, what do you got for this person?
Boundaries are so foreign in the beginning. I was like, what is a boundary? Like, what am I going to do? And once I started to figure out for me what was important and put a rule in place, if you do this, then I will do this. Very simple. The things that were the game changers for me. And you can never go back on a boundary. If you say you're going to do something, you have to follow through because otherwise they will not take any of your boundaries seriously. He was not allowed in my bedroom. Um, he was not allowed to reach out to any of my family members. Um, he was not allowed to touch me. He was not allowed to sneak a kiss. He's not allowed to try and hold my hand. Those were boundaries, and he abided by them, and then they became the norm. But it made me feel safe, and then let him know this is my safety circle. If you violate any of your your circles, your outer circle, your middle circle, uh, he had 3 days to tell me if he slipped. So boundaries are hard. They're foreign. It's a foreign language, and it's very hard to put them in place. But once you do, they make you feel so safe. But so get help with that.
Yes. And to your point, they're very hard. They're foreign for you, and your addict partner does not want you to have them. Like there's a lot of motivation against them. So one more thing for this a person, that Dr. Rob does a one-time 2-hour expert consultation with couples. And when couples are stuck, yeah, and I hear some stuck there, that can be really helpful. You can email tami@seekingintegrity.com and I can give you details of that. But he's very good at discerning what's going on for each person and giving guidance. So, and for, validating for partners, and often, a nudge, for the addict partner as well. So, okay, next one. We got two more. We can do this. Thank you for sharing your story. What things can be done on a daily basis that can bring safety and security?
Do you mean while you're in the marriage?
I would say so,
Okay, so
because like that, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're out of it, so like your safety is your safety now. But I would assume that that would be during.
I mean, I had to do all the sexual STD testing, number one, and I did like 3 cycles of it. Um, we had Custodio, which was monitoring software. I monitored him. He didn't monitor me, but I wouldn't have minded if he monitored me. We had Life 360 and Find My Phone. And those were all extraordinarily helpful. And just making them share their plan for recovery. And we did Fanos. Tammy, do you know what that stands for?
I do, yeah, and I'll grab the link and put it in. It's a quick check-in, so it's an opportunity for each partner to share. It can be helpful. It's just one of, like, there's fine. There's a bunch of different ones, but I'm pulling the
It was
useful
just a
check-ins.
nice way to check in and communicate, and because you can't have the fights and the arguments and the every night. I mean, the first year was like that. But then as we tried to navigate and heal, we would communicate in more gentle ways and check in with each other. Because your life can't become an interrogation for the rest of your life.
I think one of the keys, and you mentioned it, was boundaries. Like you developed the boundaries, and that was for your safety and security as well. And you stood by them. Yeah, and I'm grateful he honored them. That is not always the case, but like he knew you were going to stand by them, and I think that's important too. So, okay, last question. Betrayed here. How do you get through the ambivalent stage to the ready and fully leave phase? Or can you come back to love and trust after going ambivalent? I've been wondering why I'm not more furious with each new discovery from our relationship, including him still acting out and lying about it over a year after discovery. I'm more angry when he lies about something than I am finding out he's still acting out. I think so much damage has been done that I can't fathom ever trusting him or seeing him in a romantic light again. Like maybe I see him more as a friend than a partner now, but I'm still not ready or wanting to leave the relationship or him. I'll laugh with him one moment, find out the lie the next, and then be discussing daily have tos the next.
I kind of remember being in that spot. There's enough is enough sentiment. Um, I'm always somebody who does what they say they're going to do. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I told him, if you do this again, I'm leaving. And when he did it again, I left because I wanted my integrity back. I wanted my self-esteem back. I didn't want everything to be tied to him. And I didn't need a man. It was nice when I had it, but it doesn't complete me. I need to have safety. I need to be able to sleep at night. I need to be healthy. I need to show my daughter not to be abused. I think we can get used to being abused, and that's not good. I want better for you.
Can you I bet you can relate to the well, like I'm laughing with them in 1 minute. So like there'd be these, good moments of, things. And so like that almost insanity of like, well, it can't be like this because there he is like that, like him showing up in a nice way, even though all of this other stuff is going on.
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. I couldn't do it because his acting outside made me sick. It's like, well, you were affectionate with me, you were rubbing my feet, and then you're gazing into my eyes and telling me you love me and we're planning where we're going to retire, and then you can go and do this in a hotel and take all this time and send them selfies and all the prep work and all the excitement you had, and then you come back to me and yeah, I'm fun, I'm nice. I like to cook, I make you nice meals. I like to golf with you, but I'm more than that. I'm more than that. I want the whole package. I got married to be a monogamous, safe, fulfilling relationship where we respect each other. And that's just not respect. So nothing can come from zero respect. I understand he's your fun person. I understand that. I really do. But I've got a bunch of new girlfriends and they're fun too.
And they're probably not betraying you and lying to you on any level either. So there's that. So,
The betrayal,
okay.
you got used to it. Don't let this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, one of the things with the boundaries work group is we talk about the internal boundaries. And I'm not willing to betray myself. I am not willing to, because you talked about like, I have integrity, and so making sure that you're integrous within yourself is, would be an internal boundary. So, thank you so much. Great questions. Thank you all for sharing those. And Tara, I'm grateful that you were willing to write the book, that you had the support and encouragement to do so. The Orange Post-it note, it's on Amazon, and you can listen to the Audible if you want to, dust while you're doing it. But I thank you. So this recording will be posted on the Seeking Integrity website, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you along the way as well. So thanks, everyone.
God bless you all.
Bye bye.